Sun rays crown thy pine-clad hills, and summer spreads her hand, when silvern voices
We are talking about a critical analysis of adult education and community development in Newfoundland and Labrador, aka the Old Colony, in the words of Moses Cody. It's a story of trickery and deceit, hierarchical abuse of power, and the calculated disappearance of rural communities and their support organizations.
The Memorial University of Newfoundland and the National Film Board have been engaged in an experiment to determine the role of film in community development. Experimental work has been carried out on Fogo Island during the summer of 1967. It has been mutually agreed that new film production and utilization techniques can be developed for use in community development work, which may well have wide general application throughout Canada and elsewhere in the world. And by elsewhere in the world, one has in mind particularly other developing countries and countries where community resettlement has to take place.
This is the story of the Extension Service of Memorial University and the Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Adult Education. But first, a caveat emptor. I worked for Extension in the last 3 years of its 32-year history, and there are supporters of government and university, one might say supplicants, who would totally disagree
But
with my
Extension
analysis.
belonged to the people, and it didn't do things quite the way the government wanted.
You are looking at printed flyers showing the work of Extension in 1991, just before it was terminated by the provincial government premier and his public university president. There is little tangible evidence remaining of the 32 years of Extension's adult education and community development work in rural communities. Nothing on the university website, while I personally saw university dumpsters being loaded with Extension equipment. It's ironic that in March 1991, at the same time as the university attacked rural outreach, Extension won an international award for its Rural Women's Learning Project. The university academic who purports to be an expert claims Extension had outlived its usefulness by 1959.
Sacred cow. My job in the library.
Boy, this is a really complicated way to get to the car.
Wait a minute, is that what you're here for? You want to resettle us?
Yes, you see, the government feels it would be to your advantage to be located near a bigger center.
Oh, is that what the government feels now?
Yeah, I don't see no advantage of that. Mr. Chasson, you must admit that living conditions in mainland are less than satisfactory.
Mightn't it be satisfactory to the government? But me, I got everything I need there. I've been living here all my life. I survived this long. My son, I don't know what you're supposed to be doing here, but I can guarantee you, you won't be shifting these out, and you won't be shifting me here.
After the Ides of March, the announcement of Extension's closure, the writing was on the wall for adult education and community development in Newfoundland and Labrador, but it also politicized the Newfoundland and Labrador Association for Adult Education. The newsletter for its 1991 conference was called Adult Educator and Endangered Species. Guest speaker was Fabien Leboeuf, who discussed the effect of neoliberalism on adult education in Canada. The association had always been concerned about the effects of colonial governance, as demonstrated by the sponsorship of a People's Resettlement play, Is Arjuna. Where is the association today? It seems to be a marketing device for a St. John's businessman. Why was Extension actually closed down? The university says it was money, 1% of the budget, and the academic supplicant says Extension had outlived its usefulness 32 years before. But here's the scoop: empty nets. One of Extension's big support projects in the early 90s was the Coalition for Fisheries Survival. The writing was on the wall for fishers as well as adult educators and community development field workers. So in 1991, Extension traveled from coast to coast in the province, hosting public forums on the fishery, even broadcasting the event on local cable. The effort was chaotic, to say the least. The federal government and the province had already decided to close the cod fishery, and in effect closed down rural Newfoundland. A companion piece, one might say, to the long-lasting resettlement program.
In relation to something that was, I'm not sure if it's in your programs today, there was something in there yesterday about the Coalition for Fisheries Survival. And I did a tour with the Coalition last month, with the Coalition and Mun Extension, traveling around to some of the fishing communities in Newfoundland. And I was quite, it started out as just another gig, but I was quite moved by some of the conversations I had with fishermen and fisherwomen about the current crisis in the fishery. And sometimes it's easy to lose track of here in St. John's, but the fishery affects everybody in Newfoundland. No matter where you live and no matter what you do, what's going on in the fishery is going to hit you directly or indirectly eventually. The thing about the coalition is that it's a group of people, individuals and organizations that are concerned about the fishery and how it affects everybody. It involves fishermen, fisherwomen, inshore, offshore, plant workers, families, communities, and so on. And the bottom line is that it's a common resource that should be developed for the common good. Plant worker toils on shore and waits for the fishermen to catch a few more and then pack it up for the grocery store till it ends up on somebody's table. How can they feed multitudes on fishes so small? How can they feed families on no fish at all? Get down on your knees for a miracle call, but we'll stick it for as long as we're able. Those empty nets, that's what he gets when you're out on the water, no time for regrets. Those empty nets, that's what he gets. How's a poor fisherman to pay off his debts when he goes out each morning to haul empty nets? Here's luck to the fisherman, he'll need it, I know. As he bobs on the ocean, God bless his poor soul. May good fortune follow wherever he goes, to keep him from debt, load, and danger. And wherever you live, no matter which bay, may bankers and loan boards not stand in your way. May you bring home a boatload each single day, and to poverty be ever a stranger. No more empty nets, 'cause that's what he gets when you're out on the water, no time for regrets. Those empty nets, that's what he gets. How's a poor fisherman to pay off his debts when he goes out each morning to haul empty nets?